so we're doing something a little different than a typical workshop. We've actually had a couple people submit some questions that we're going to ask to our top agents here. If there is time at the end, we will ask for more questions. But we do have a handful of questions, so I'll let everybody introduce themselves. I want to start with Hatter over here. Want to introduce yourself?
Cool. Yeah, so I am Hatter Rivas. My story. I've been in business now 18, 19 years, I believe, full time, almost the entire 18 years. And been with 3 different companies. Landed here about 6, 7 years ago, one of the best companies out there in the US. And just continuously growing. Love working here. Love working for creating a business. So, yeah.
Name's Alexander Hufford.
Hey, laughing already.
Morning. How are you? Who's last anyway? Mastermind's made up. What's the matter? I have the Obsidian Real Estate Group. Technically out of the Brigantine office. I've been in the real estate industry now for 5 years. I joined this office last May. I came over from a different company and just feel like being on this panel.
My turn. Kathy Legge, I've been with KWAS since July of 2015. Past a little over 6 years. And I also have been with different agencies throughout my career. I've been doing it since 2002, done a little bit of everything. And very happy to be here. I think this is the final stage for me in real estate right here at KWAS. Everybody's just helpful, great, work together, and I thoroughly enjoy the environment.
I'm Dan Rollo. I've been licensed since 2004. 10 years. Honored to be here.
I'm Ray Brophy. I'm with the NJ Dream Team Real Estate Group, and I got licensed in 2011, and I got my start here in Keller Williams around 2016, 2017. I learned how to sell real estate by Mr. Dan Rowler right here. Taught me the ropes and taught me just about everything I know. Great resource. So I'm gonna ask the panelists a couple questions here.
Tell me where we met.
So it was a funny story. I was actually I quit my full-time job with Wawa because I wanted to start a business, and I was driving down the road one day on my way home from the job that I hated, and I kept thinking about businesses I could start, and it dawned on me one day. I was like, I've had my real estate license for 6 years, so I quit that job and I dove full-time into real estate. I had no idea what I was going to do. I was flying solo and I was driving Uber part-time just to make some money, and happened to be on my way back from a community service event, and I picked up this gentleman and we started talking, and he told me about how he was in real estate. I asked him what company he was, what he was with. He didn't tell me his name. He made me pull the information out of him, which was a good lesson for when I talk to buyers and sellers. And it turns out I was like, "What's your name?" And he's like, "Dan Rallo." And I almost crashed the car when I turned around and looked for him, because I'd been looking about this enigma that I kept hearing about. Dan Rallo was the top agent, and he was actually working on bank properties at the time. And I was like, "Man, I've been looking for you for so long." It's like, I want a conversation. So he's like, "All right." He's like, Monday morning, give me a call at 8 a.m. Yeah, and we had breakfast. He's like, "Call me on Monday morning. First thing in the morning at 8 a.m. and I'll we'll set something up." And that was like almost a nightmare for me, because I drove Uber to like 4 in the morning. But I was bound and determined. I was like, I gotta meet this guy. So I was like, I rolled myself out of bed at 7:45, and I called him just like you said, and spent about 2-3 years working.
Yeah, and I found out you're not a morning guy.
Yeah. Yeah, it turns out I'm not, but. So that's how I met Dan. So you can meet people anywhere. That's a really good lesson I learned. Got one of the best mentors I could have ever asked for just by driving Uber, just by talking to people. So goes to show you can meet clients, you can meet referral partners anywhere. A mentor even. Simple as just being out in public. So that's my story there. So we're gonna ask the panelists a couple questions. They're gonna give a short answer, about 30 to 60 seconds, and if we have time at the end, if anybody wants them to elaborate on their answer, you're more than welcome to ask them to do so. So first question, we'll start down the line again. With Hatter, what is your best lead generation tool?
Pick up the phone. This is it's communication, talking to your people, building relationships, nurturing those relationships. Your follow-up game has to be stronger than your lead generating game. So anybody can pick up the phone, buy calls or sell calls, what have you, but they're not going to be ready at the time. So your follow-up game has to be strong. And you build that pipeline. You build that pipeline just nurturing those relationships. So that's what's worked for me. And I'm 80, I would say top 90 referral business. I don't have to lead gen. Because of that, no, of course. I recommend you lead gen, put it in work. I'm definitely putting the work. But yeah, pick up the phone, let me still talk.
What you, Alex?
Have lead gen source. It's probably, you know, what I love about the real estate industry is it literally incentivizes you just to be a good person. Like what Hatter said, aside from the leads, you don't know personally, like it incentivizes you to be a good friend. Like check in on your friends, see how they're doing, see how their network's doing, go out to social places, talk to people. For me, I would say that's the biggest lead generation source is the sphere of influence, which really just means try to make as many friends as possible and be a good friend with people.
I agree. And reiterate with Hatter, making the calls, it's also picking up the phone and taking those calls. Taking every call, even if it says potential spam. What's the worst that can happen, right? It is spam and you say, I'm not interested, you hang up the phone, okay? But I know of more people who have lost business because they didn't at least pick up the phone. You never know what it's going to be. And I had a perfect example. I was working in Tom's office upstairs and I got a call, I had no idea who it was. And here it's a girl who's a real estate agent with another company that has a lead that doesn't want to take the lead because she doesn't have the time. Will you take the lead and do a referral with me? Okay, right? So it could be that type of call, it could be anything. So, you know, like I said, just take the call, hang it up if you have to, but don't not take the call. You never know where it's going.
My number one generation source, similar to Hatter's, is I get a lot of referrals from the country. So I think 50% of my business now is coming from other real estate agents, just referring me clients, and then the other balance. But when I first started in business, my main lead generation strategy was going on expired listings, for sale by owners, and circle prospecting, which is calling around recent sales and active listings. And that was a big thing for me because I didn't have a certain influence when I moved down here. I didn't know anybody back in 2003. So I knew nobody, and I built my business from like Patterson, picking up the phone, and door knocking back in the day. I don't know if you do that still, but door knocking, for sale by owners, and expired listings is a big part of my business, and I used to compete against half of all the time. These days, for sure. That's a good shame, bro.
True story, right?
True story. Awesome. So just stay in touch with people, really. Just talk to people seems to be that's the consensus. So the second question we have is also, that first question was from Shanta. Second question would be, how do you win multiple offer situations?
Great question. Great question. Strategy. Obviously, you have to give your buyer all the options. What if you're in a buy situation, right? Give the buyer all the options because we're in a very competitive market. So we're talking about appraisal, inspection, closing dates, everything that has to be as strong as possible. But making sure that your client understands, you know, the pros and the cons behind removing an appraisal contingency. or inspections. I don't ever recommend that. At least those options are there for the buyer to have them make the decision, you know. And I would say it's what works for me is having a relationship with the agent. You're building that rapport, you build that relationship, of course, it's fiduciary and confidentiality, but it's allowed me to they know that when I submit an offer, it's not gonna work, 99% times it's gonna close. Because I make it as strong as possible for both parties to for it to be having another one. But yeah, it's for both, again, building those relationships.
I wish I was sitting in that or no, I mean, everything, what he said, basically. I think for me, and I'm very buyer heavy, I'm about 70% buyer heavy, so this market has been brutal for me because it is winning multiple offer after multiple offers the way it's running right now. For me, like Hunter said, it's the relationship with the other agent, and like real estate's a really funny thing when it comes to karma. So like 5 years ago, if you weren't nice to somebody and you had a really bad transaction, and now you got a client, it's got to put an offer in on this property. How you treated them, even the transaction that happened 5 years ago that didn't close, is going to change everything about the way you have to handle your client. Thankfully for me, I like to think that agents like to work with me. And I think that's been at least the secret sauce is aside from informing your buyers, which is obviously the first, the second is how your rapport is with your community about you. And it might not just be the agent you're dealing with directly, it might be their broker, it might be their manager. And they go and say, hey, what do you think of Kathy? And they say, wow, she is the prettiest, most intelligent, greatest agent ever. They're gonna be like, wow. And it's gonna incentivize even that new agent who doesn't know to try, not to try to push, but they have a better feeling about you, so they'll probably speak more warmly about you too. Yep.
I also think that one of the ways to win in a multiple offer situation is to educate your buyer from the very beginning what this market's like. What I mean by that is if you educate them on, there's gonna be multiple offers, and they're gonna be over asking price, and you might have to do this, you might have to do that. When the time comes, they're prepared to do that, and they're not gonna be the one that says, oh, well, can we just go under, can we go in a little under? It's not gonna work, right? But if you've educated them enough to know what's going on, they're not that deer in the headlight situation. So that, for me, has helped to at least get them in the game, might not always win. I just got somebody an offer accepted this week. We've been working since April. We've lost 5 properties. And they went in and they said, we're gonna do this, 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 and this against my recommendation. Like you said, I don't like to waive a home inspection. They wanna do that, but they wanted it so bad that they knew what they needed to do. So if you can educate them and at least give them all those options ahead of time, when it comes time, they're more apt to do it. Now, my second thing is for newer agents, utilize somebody in the office that has been around the block to be on your team for this transaction. I have a situation with a younger agent. She just started, been in business a month. She got multiple offers. What do? Let's call these people. So we're in my office. She called everybody. Nobody took her call. That's bad because real estate agents should answer the phone. They don't. So I called them and they all took my call. And that's not to say that I'm not great. It's just to say that they know me. I'm in their database. Hey, Kath, what's going on? And I'm sitting here with so-and-so. So utilize us and our leverage of the office to help you get your offers accepted, because it is a relationship thing, like Powder said. Right? Yeah. But you're the best. That's always the best.
So everything they're saying, so it's interesting because your integrity and reputation is everything. And if a listing agent feels confident that your reputation is on a deal maker, they're going to take that offer that you present, and they're going to position that offer to their client, saying, hey, listen, This offer has a mortgage company that I'm very familiar with, I've done a ton of business with. It's coming from an agent that I've done a ton of deals with in the past. The guy is, or the girl is the deal maker. That's why I think this offer is going to be better than these other 2 or 3 offers. That just goes a huge way. Second thing, it's nice when you call an agent and they pick up the phone and go, "Hey Hatter, how you doing?" So they actually put your phone number in their phone. And it's even better when you call when you have a client there and you call a listing agent and they answer you by first name and the client goes, "Oh my God, look, that's a big thing." Secondly, we're in a profit sharing company, so I never took profit share very seriously until kind of 6th or 7th year. Treat each agent as if treat agents as if they were your clients. The reason I do a lot of agent business is that once I get a call from an agent that sent me a referral, they go in my database. They're getting Christmas cards, they're getting bottles of wine. Treat agents like gold. You never know when they're going to send you a referral or possibly want to come to the office. So you can profit. That's a big aha that I learned. Have the coffee and lunch. I do that all the time. Hey, what are you doing in your business that I can maybe share some ideas and thoughts with you? And most agencies say, "Yeah, let's grab a cup of coffee or a beer or a white tea at lunch." Make that part of your weekly schedule and try to invite people out for a cup of coffee or lunch and build your profit share tree as well. So it's going to help you in many different aspects. And then I always tell the story finally, the reason I came to Keller is years and years ago, Sean O'Brien called me and told me that one of my clients called on his listing and wanted to go see it without me. So he actually called me and said, give your client a call because they want to go see this listing with mine. And of course, I didn't call the client. Of course, I didn't show it, but I in my mind, I was thinking, what agent out there would actually not try to go over their listing and call me, telling me my clients cheating on me in a sense. And that was the reason when I was at a critical point in my career, I decided to come to Keller. So, kind of going back to his head, that's a huge factor. So,
Excellent. All right, our next question is coming from Stephanie. And the question is, do you feel it's important for you to know your numbers? Why or why not? And Alex, we'll start with you.
I love numbers. I really do. I'm a big numbers guy. I look at my Excel spreadsheet every single day. Start my day by looking at my QuickBooks, I look at my money, I look at my account. Just literally how I start my day. I love, part of the industry, you can give the candid answer, I love helping people in the community, it's so great. We also get to make a really dumb amount of money by putting in a solid amount of work at the beginning and then eventually, hopefully, like Dan Rallo or Hatter or all the other agents on this panel except for me, where most of your business comes by referral. And then what we get to do then is we have, I think we're in a really awesome business that allows you to kind of enjoy your time, structure your schedule. It's a lot of freedom, which is what I have here. But it also doesn't limit how much you can make. You're not clocking in for 40 hours a week and capped at $50,000, $100,000, $200,000 a year. Whatever your cap is, $300,000 a year. It's not there. But if you don't know your numbers, you don't know where you're at, and you certainly don't know where you're going, and you don't know what it looks like to get somewhere closer to next year. So if for me at least, if you're not in control of your income and your expenses, you're flying blind through this. And I wouldn't want to do business with any business in any industry whatsoever that didn't have a good handle on their money.
Good answer.
Thank you, Kathy.
The other thing I think too is, like Alex said, you don't know where you're going, you're not sure how you're gonna get there. You also, if you don't track your numbers, don't know what's working and what's not. Gary Keller in the Red Book says red light, green light, right? You do something as long as it keeps working and your business is improving and you're making more money, it's a green light, you keep going, right? If it's not, you've got to cut it off at some point. That's your red light. You're not going to know what's working and what's not working if you don't follow your numbers until you don't have any numbers to follow, and then we know that it didn't work.
Hatter's gonna give a lot of input on numbers, because Hatter's probably one of the best numbers crowd. I'll just, before he tells you that, a guy told me one time, if you don't know your numbers, you'll never be able to figure out how much you spend on your marketing. And when it comes to marketing, we are marketers at the end of the day. If you could figure out that if I give you a dime and then you give me back $1, you can make that exchange all day long. So if I know I spend a dime on marketing and I get back $1, technically I can go to infinity and beyond, and I can scale that to unlimited levels. But if you by not knowing your numbers, you never know what that ROI is. So if I invest $100 on lead, but get $8,000 back, when you track your numbers, you'll start to really see patterns and understand your real ROI. Super, super important. And then the other thing that I've done in my years is that also calculate return on energy. There is ROI,
Yeah.
also ROE,
Yeah.
return on energy. Be aware of that, because you spend marketing dollars on something, energy, that those are my.
Yeah, I think that just with that is just know your worth, treat it like a business. You are a business. So that, what does that mean? That means, hey, get an LLC, get QuickBooks, get a spreadsheet going, you can look at your numbers and see where your business is, definitely green light, red light, know where your marketing dollars are going. And yeah, if it doesn't make sense, then stop using that horse. Take that money and invest it somewhere else. Doesn't give you the return. That's huge. I am crazy with numbers. I'm like, I want to see where I'm at with my business. I also calculate the business loss. If I get a call, I miss a call that I happen to go on vacation. Guy called me, take a listing, didn't return the call. I see that the property was under rate. All right, well, how do I return the call? I calculate that commission. I just lost $14,000. Pick it up. So I hate it where it hurts, right? It hurts $14,000. So what could I have done better? Pick up the call or set a vacation greeting on my so at least the expectations there. Somebody else. But not only knowing your numbers in your business, but knowing your numbers in the market. Knowing what's coming on the market, knowing what's selling, knowing what's on the contract, knowing the average price. Now you got properties being overbid about 100K. Is it really that type of? I mean, it is that type of money, but is it really? And knowing those numbers and you being able to evaluate that to a client, potential or a buyer, potential investor, our numbers. We're not emotional, and you getting to know those numbers, knowing your market is going to tell you.
Just add one thing to that, because we do have some new agents here. Should you need assistance with how to do that, reach out to Tom Allen and set an appointment with him, and he'll help you to do a business plan. And
Excellent. Next question's coming from Ashley, and it's gonna go to you, Kathy.
Okay.
What did you do when you first started real estate that got you to where you are now?
great question. Oh my gosh, I worked 24/7. I was on the phone day and night. 10 o'clock at night, I'd still be on the phone, and I didn't let anything go. I was like a dog with a bone, fought for everything, did it as much as I could, and that's what you need to do in the very beginning. I mean, we're all sitting here, we've got years of experience, we've got, referrals coming at us and repeat business, but you have to start the business in order to get it to repeat. You've got to work. You gotta work. That's the bottom line. I think you gotta put the time in, you gotta put the hours in. Most agents want to get into real estate or people for freedom, flexibility, and financial. And they get so caught up in the freedom and the flexibility, they don't work and they don't make it to financial. You gotta put the time in. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, absolutely. When I first started, I probably was putting in my first 3 years, 70-hour work weeks are a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
They're a real thing. It does come, unfortunately, at a cost. So know what you're getting into, because balance and success sometimes don't always equal out. But to be successful and to build a business, any other business you would buy, there's a massive amount of time investment in the upfront part of it. And then once it's done, once it's built, and systems are in place, then it starts to scale back over time. But one thing I'll say to you is that when you see people up on stage here or at Mega Camp or all these different things, and you go, wow, these guys are making so much money, they do so many deals. Know that it took a lot of time, money, energy, and sacrifice. And it's not instantaneous, and there's definitely, as much as I always try to find the magic pill, or what shiny object kind of call it, I've always tried to find it. I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars trying to figure it out. At the end of the day, it is sometimes pretty simple as picking up the phone.
Thanks for saving us some money.
Yeah. If you guys ever want to spend money on anything, come talk to me. I'll tell you what works, what doesn't.
Right, that's true, very true. He would be like, hey, we're trying this new system for X thousands of dollars. I'm like, what do you know about it? He's like, we're gonna figure it out. You know, we're gonna see if it gets an ROI. 100% true.
I have a plan. You know, it's just we get into it because it's the freedom that allows us and money that comes with it. Everybody having fun with it. But it's going to hit. So adjust for that. Prepare for that. Plant your seeds. I mean, when I first came in, I was 22, 23 years old. You know, I'm a hustler by nature, so I'm just constantly grinding. You know, I have a young family now. Started out young, and that's my passion was for them. My big why was for them. So I had something that was driving, and I had a great plan behind it. I came into the market when the market was just like this now. So you're kind of just you're creating business, you're having business, you're posting business, but it's kind of like, think about it, you're creating the top agents can't handle, or just that formula. But then you're creating a business, you start investing into yourself, and that's how I did. Started investing in my business, thought of it like that, and had a 36-month plan.
What exactly was the question again?
So what did you do when you first started real estate that got you to where you are now?
We had a lot of good information there. I was like listening and trying to figure out what I was listening. Like I can sit down, have 40 tasks in front of me, and just go. You don't have to think about the rest of it. But when I was new in real estate, I spent a lot of time thinking about all the cool stuff that I was going to do, and I was exhausted. And then I would go home, and I didn't do anything. I just thought about all the good stuff I should be doing, and then didn't do anything. It's pretty like the sauce is pretty simple when you do it. Like whether that's sweat and pick up the phone and like working. It was funny you said 70 hours a week, and I said I was a part-time job at the beginning. Because like 70 hours a week was like light weeks. Like, and if you're not willing to like pay that price at the beginning, like you're not going to make it. And it's easy, you know, sometimes to see who's going to make it, who's not going to make it, just by who's willing to pay the price of admission. And that's terrifying. Like if we're going to be honest, like the distance between, like I woke up one day and I was asked to sit on a wrestler. It felt like for years, like it was like you wake up and then you're doing the Dan Rallo thing, but doing the Dan Rallo thing's harder when you don't have that much money. So you got like $5,000 extra left over from your business after you pay your bills. And then it's not the let me get a nicer car, it's the what system am I going to try? What new ROI, what marketing thing am I going to do? And that's why I ran for the first 3 years, was anything I made over what I needed to live on went back into experimenting with my business. And that's probably the scariest part. But once again, all of that money doesn't mean anything unless you're doing the things that you have to do with that, because with those new softwares come new responsibilities. With new leads come new follow-ups. Like, so for me, the one thing is the to-do list. Everything else that I'm doing comes off of that list. So yeah.
Awesome. Joanne asks a similar question. What are some best practices that a new agent can do to jumpstart their business. So if you could elaborate on some more specifics of what they can do. And you.
We'd say if I was just starting out in the business, fresh, brand new, never worked a day, I'll tell you the things that I did not do, that if I did them today, I probably would be a lot better off. One, I would have designated a real geographic farm. I never did it. Every year I say I'm gonna do it, now I'm too old to do it, so too late for me, but anyway. Pick a farm that you want to cultivate and don't make it about an area that you live in necessarily. Be in an area that's gonna produce a real ROI, has good turnover, has a good average sale price, and is not dominated by one particular agent. And then consistently, every month, market to it, call it, email it, mail it, whatever, build that up. I wish I did that from the beginning. Second thing I would say is really get intentional about organizing and building your database. Something I never really did. My database is probably still a bit of a mess. But if you organize it correctly, you communicate with it consistently over time, it's going to produce money for you. The things I always did was I was always chasing after the shiny object. So I wanted money now, immediately, and for me and my personality, because I'm a high D, I love the thrill of the kill. So the money actually, girls to me were like, I didn't want to. I just wanted to go after expires and force it. I love the thrill of landing that deal, and that got me excited. Not today, I don't like that now. But when I was younger, that was what excited me. That's what I always went after. But if I look back, having a well-organized database with all the proper contact points in there, birthdays, anniversary dates, full names, emails, phone numbers, a real mailing address, and a farm, I think that's the best advice I can give anyone starting out.
Huge. So build your database, build a database, have a game plan, have a written game plan. And visit it as often as you can. You know, it's important to see it, visualize it, and have it through situation. And fail forward. Don't be scared to fail or get rejected or the no's. I know that can be very intimidating, but you know, a no today is a yes tomorrow. So stay with it. You know, and I'm big on that. You know, just the database.
What are some things
What are some best practices for a new agent?
First best practice is wake up every day, read the hot sheets, which is what Hatter really was saying earlier when he said know your market. Unless you know what's going on in the market when the person calls you, you never want your client to be more informed than you are, and now it's harder than ever to be more informed than your client. Because sometimes I have clients come in, they're like, oh, so-and-so just listed for sale. And I was like, what? You know what I mean? Because I was on an appointment, didn't see it, but it's now instantaneous. Where before, from what I hear from, you know, the agents that mentored me when I came in, obviously people used to contact us for the listings. Now they're seeing the listings. So now we really have to be the filter and the curator of the proper information. And unless you have the proper information, you're just another name and phone. So the hot sheets would be the one best practice. The other, I think, like, you know, Dan was kind of expounding on earlier, is really take the time to get to know another agent, especially if you're new. Like, if you see a listing and it's interesting, like, you can go see it and call the other agent and talk to them about it. Because there were a few agents, and this is a little cheat code, right? Because I figured this out at some point, like 2 years in the industry, I figured it out. So I used to call the agents and ask them about their listings. Now, even if I didn't have a buyer for it, I would call and ask, you know what I mean, about the listing, get some information. Reason is now I have some really solid relationships with a lot of really heavy listing agents in the areas that have those farms that you can't get into. Now, I've only done like 2 or 3 transactions with them over the years, but they felt like we found 40. Yeah, I mean, just talk about this property, they showed a few of them, made a bunch of offers, like, and we just kept that open line of communication, so it's easier when you get on the phone, it's like, yo, Hatter, like, you know what I mean, and we're just talking. But at the beginning, I was afraid to call because I didn't know what I was supposed to say or not say. And rather than just calling and like saying like, hey, you know, this whatever feature of the house have this, you know, I mean, if you have a client who loosely fits it. Because really creating that rapport, it's easy to do it when you have a reason to call, which is, hey, you have a listing, I have a buyer I work for, let's talk about it for like 30 seconds.
That's, you know what, the fact that you just said that too, I'm gonna jump real quick. I always need, probably I've even said it to you, right? Like, when I call an agent, say, hey, I just want to bend your ear for 30 seconds. Let them know how long they're gonna be on the phone. Everyone's super, super busy, and out of respect to that top agent, I do it to this day, like, hey, listen, I just need you for 30 seconds. Keep it to 30 seconds. Sit there and have this long drawn out conversation. Likely they will not pick you up.
Yeah.
So that was a good nugget that you mentioned. I still to this day respect their time. If you give them 60 seconds, 30, you're showing respect.
You know who you are if you don't call. So there's about.
But on the flip side of that too, if you need more time, tell them you need more time.
Yeah.
You know, instead of, do you have a minute? Do you have 10 minutes you can spare right now? You know, I've got a couple of questions or whatever. And people do respect that. And like you said, there's calls I don't take. They come up. It's either that or, hey, I've got 3 minutes. Is this enough or do you need to call me back? All right, so best practices. For me, even though I do mentor a lot of the new agents, was having a mentor was very beneficial to me when I first started out. It helped to build my confidence. And she's not from here, by the way, too. She would tell me what to say, what to do, we'd go on appointments together, and it was very helpful to have somebody to shadow that knew what they were doing. And the next thing you know, you are subconsciously just emulating them, and you're growing as a person, growing into a better real estate agent. The other thing is, like we've all iterated many times, consistency. This is not a new business. This is not rocket science. You have to do the same thing over and over again. I will share with you a story. Matt, I hope I don't embarrass you. When I first came to Keller Williams, I was in an office with Matt, and he is on those phones constantly. And he's always saying the same thing. And I'm like, oh my God, thing over and over again. And then it hit me that he was saying the same thing all day, but he was only saying it once per person. So he had his script down where it was so automatic that he wasn't fearful of picking up the phone because he knew what he was going to say. And it took me a while to figure that out. I was saying it over and over again.
Yeah.
And he's brilliant. He's a robot, so that's it. All you need is one line. Hey, it's Kathy from Keller Williams. How you doing today? That's it. That's all you need. 50 times to say that. So thank you for that, because I learned that. It took me a while.
Yeah. Write down this phrase. It's a really good one. I don't know. Let me get back to you.
That's the phrase.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Because in the industry, you feel a lot of pressure to give information at the beginning that you don't necessarily have because you're a new agent. And it can put you in a lot of really sticky situations by being so scared of saying, I don't know. So best practice.
Great.
Real quick, take that in a mentor. Definitely get a mentor, rub shoulders with the right people. And when it's time, invest in yourself, invest in and take your business to the next level.
I'm gonna throw one more in there. This is the best question. Go to sleep early and wake up. It sounds so stupid, but wake up early, exercise.
I was gonna say, well, next year, this is
Exercise.
Sean said,
And read good books.
Yeah.
And shut off the news. Don't watch the news, read good books. Wake up early, go to sleep early. A lot of people, when you don't have to clock in, natural tendency is you're up at night 11:30 watching something, Netflix, and you're waking up at 8:30, 9 o'clock. Guess what? How to read this already took all your listings.
Yeah,
you've been up since 4:30.
That's already put all the signs in my doors. So, and you see when you network with very successful people, there are some common denominators you always pick up on. And the most successful people, most of them, not all, but 99%, wake up, they have a morning ritual, very early. That's super.
So read Miracle Morning. I forget who it's
That's a
by.
good one.
Yeah, Miracle Morning. It's a good one.
Also to Alex's point, when you say you'll get back to him, very, very important, actually get back to him, because there's no worse way to burn a bridge than you say, I'll get back to you on that, and then a week goes by and you haven't done anything. Get back to them in a timely manner. In a business, by the end of the day, or at least by the following day, if it's a more difficult question, definitely get back to them. And to Kathy's point about knowing your scripts, Matt Hadlin and his father, probably one of the best as far as keeping in touch with their database and referrals. Like she said, he's got his scripts down, and I've heard him live and in person, and he is a rock star, an absolute machine. And there's people that I've known for 5-10 years, and I tell them about my real estate business. They're like, oh, it's great, I'm glad to hear it, but Hadlins are my guys. Like, if I do real estate business, they're going with the Hadlins because they maintain such a good relationship with everybody, and we're both in similar areas. Like, we live nearby each other, and they're just absolute rock stars out.
It's the eyes.
To your point on returning calls, I learned something. I learned this from that actually. We actually shared an office as well, and it was. So,
Yeah.
I shared years. But it was. It's in your greetings, set the standards. So, in your greetings, I'm going to return the calls from 12 to 1 or whatever. The expectation is there. There's no, oh, he's not returning my calls or whatever. It's there. And at those times, yeah. Okay.
Excellent. We have an agent who they prefer prospecting buyers. So they say, I'm not a go-getter with getting listings. I rather prospect buyers. So how can I protect myself if the buyer doesn't want to sign a buyer's agreement? So how can someone, if they're working with a buyer and the buyer is not willing to sign an exclusive buyer's agency agreement, how can they protect themselves?
Fire them. Well, work with
There you go.
somebody else. Goes back to your time. Your time is everything. So if you have someone that's not willing to, and they're working with 2 other agents, then that's when you want to agents. You're providing value, you're providing business, you're adding value to them. If they can't see that, and they fail to see that, then I value my time.
Alex, I'm gonna have a completely opposite.
That's why you're up here.
I never, and I'm once again mostly buyers. I don't recommend that for investment.
For this business.
We're in the business of that. It's a fact. Because when this market turns, these guys are gonna win, and I'm gonna be trying to figure out how to do it. So I never have them sign. It's a piece of paper that's gonna hold up about as useless. Also, being petty enough to try to pursue that person for that commission on the backside is going to tarnish your reputation irreparably, I think, faster than the $3,000 you're about. Hatter said it perfectly. If I'm not providing better value to my client than Hatter is, I deserve to lose. And if you feel like they're just shopping you, like they're just shopping to get in, don't meet with them. Like if you feel like you have a relationship as an agent and a client with them, fine. I would almost guarantee that there's not many agents going to beat me on value. And if there's someone that does beat them on value, that returns their calls better, that gets back, says when they're going to, you know what I mean, and I'm not doing that, I deserve to lose the buyer. And I used to calculate. It's painful when you calculate how much money you've lost in real estate because it's way more than you make. You get really in touch with that number, and you hate losing as bad as I do, you stop losing that much money. So for me, I don't protect myself at all. And does it happen? Yeah, but is it also for new agents good experience to be out there showing the property, having the conversations, even if you're going to lose to Hatter? It's good to be out there doing the real estate things because one more attempt at it toward your 1,000 attempts deep that you need to be before it's really effortless.
Okay, buyer's agency. My intention is to bring it up in a conversation, just like you do a listing paperwork, right? This is just part of our policy. So if they don't want to sign it, then I just dive deep with questions. I'll use a Dan Rollo phrase, peel back the onion, right? Why, why are you adamant about not signing this, and maybe once we work through that conversation, they do agree to sign it. And if they don't, the question is, are you gonna be loyal? Just come right out and say it. And well, they haven't hauled, then I have to agree, fire them, I'm not wasting my time. But I will dive a little bit deeper into why they don't want to sign.
My philosophy on buyer agency agreements in the last probably 3 years has shifted it to where, as Ray knows, I was like, you're not going to work with me exclusively. I'm going to give you 100% of my time and energy and effort, and what I expect in return is that was my rationale. I think now with Zillow and Realtor.com and Instagram and social media and Netflix and Amazon Prime, all these things in our lives are on demand. And the consumer has, where before they would have been more willing to come into an office, and now with COVID, let's be honest, right?
Yeah, right.
So I'll be honest, I'm more Alex's mindset when it comes to a buyer. If they call, they want to see a house, I believe it's going to be better for me or one of my agents to meet them face to face, belly to belly. Once people are face to face, belly to belly, they're going to open up a little bit more and open up the relationship. And that's where I'm going to bring that relationship. And then, like Alex said, provide amazing service, and you won't usually lose them if they are serious about professionalism. Where I think most agents lose their clients is when that person calls them at 5 o'clock on Friday, and when they pick up the phone, they feel a sense that you just inconvenienced them. So, the new world we live in, the industry is so quickly that I think we have to, again, pivot with the industry and the consumer right now. And we're in an on-demand world, and our competitors like Zillow and things like that put the consumer in a place where they expect on-demand results. If you miss a phone call, they're going to go on to the next stage right away. So before, when you used to be able to, good scripts get them into the office by brokers, I mean, does it still exist? Can you still do it? The answer is absolutely yes. But sometimes I think it might be swimming upstream a little bit too hard. I'd rather go for the low-hanging fruit and just meet face to face and win them with your personality, win them with your expertise.
And I'll summarize that a little bit too. Something I actually learned from Dan, as well as if they're not willing to sign an exclusive buyer's agency agreement, and that is part of your business practice, find out why. And it's usually because they don't necessarily trust you yet. So something I've added to buyer's agency agreements, and I legitimately just write it in on the bottom and I will sign it, is that this agreement can be terminated by either the agent or the buyer at any time with 24, 48, or 72 hours written notice, whatever you prefer. So I put in there, this can be terminated with 24 hours written notice. The reason I would do that is I just want to know if they're firing me, rather than ghost me, because there's nothing worse than getting ghosted. And then you spend weeks, months trying to track them down. Hey, what happened? You just know. They send you an email saying, hey, we no longer want to work with you. I say, all right, great. Is there anything else I can do for you? Call me if you need anything. I cross them off my database and I move on, and maybe, and I'll call them maybe in the 3, 6, 12 months. I won't follow up with them like a hot client, but I'll follow up with them like a low level client. So at least you know. If you get fired, you get fired. The first time sucks. It definitely sucks the first time, but the second, it still.
I don't think the 29th feels much better.
No, but the first time I think it does hit like a baseball bat, and after a while, sometimes it just doesn't work.
And one day your uncle works with a different agent.
Yeah, and that'll happen too. Whatever. So we got about let's say we have 2 more questions. About 5, but the last one we're going to summarize into 1 question. So the next question is going to be, what is your follow-up after closing? And sorry.
I have a system I figured out, and I just set up the smart plan, and then I just do what my to-do list. So it looks like probably 2 weeks after I call, 2 weeks after that, check in again. Whether it's call, text, or email, it's really preferential to the client. I don't recommend exactly how to communicate with them. Every case is different. communicate with them on their level. And then after that 1 month, it becomes every third month after that, really follow up after that. And then some holiday stuff. But occasionally it's just like, hey, something hits in the neighborhood. They're 2 neighbors down list, like, hey, you know what I mean? Like, Greg, what's going on, man? Saw 1, 2 doors down, you know, just whatever. Make conversation, it doesn't have to be robotic.
My initial follow-up, most of our closings are on a Friday, so I'll call them the following Monday, just to see how everything went. You know, most of them are down for the weekend, whatever the case might be. And then it's about 2 weeks later, and then it's 4 weeks later, and then quarterly calls. And like the guy said, every now and then something else comes up. You know, and what I like to do too is I like to use what's going on in our world for a call, like, hey, the air show's coming, or hey, the farmer's market started, and this kind of stuff, now that we're open up again too. So they appreciate those calls as well, because if you always call them with something about real estate, they're gonna stop taking the calls. So I try to give them some kind of information when I call them. Something they're interested in.
I was always the worst at follow-up after the meeting. But my ahas that I could share with you guys, anyone was, if you're afraid to call a past client, whatever they did, don't let that hold you up, because there's other ways of communication. So plenty of people will appreciate a text message just as much as a phone call or a Facebook or Instagram DM. If you're new and you're just afraid, don't let that prevent you from communicating with your clients with other means. That's number 1. Number 2, after closing, please make sure you have their anniversary date and their birthday, so you can send them an anniversary card. Hey, congratulations, yeah, celebrating your anniversary of buying a home. Happy birthdays go a huge way. Definitely holidays are a great time to send a phone call or a text message out to them. And then get in the habit of 2, 3, you know, Matt's perfect at it. Entertainment parties for your clients are event marketing is huge. And probably 90% of people will not come to your event. Okay, but what they did get is an invitation to your event, and that made them feel wonderful. So I used to get called up, oh my God, and no one likes me. You know, what if 3 people? It doesn't matter. I actually now hope no one shows up. They got the part of the invite, and now they're thinking of Dan Rock. So.
Sorry, great date.
So event marketing is something, you know, definitely build that database and think of creative things to do twice a year. You know, we rent out space at restaurants and we'll host a dinner for our top clientele. And I'll tell you, that goes long. So I'm not the one that's going to close and call the week after. Hey, is everything okay? You know, I don't do that. I just don't have the time. But like Alex said, put a plan in place to remind you when to call, when to send a postcard, when to send a message. And if you're afraid to call, my suggestion is don't let that be a reason not to communicate. You can always send an email or a DM.
Yeah, I can't add anything else. I mean, that's what it is. Just make sure you touch.
Good, right?
Just do it, just touch. You know, but everything, the planning, the events, the dripping, your database, is so key.
Awesome. All right. Our last couple questions very much have the same underlying tone. So I'm going to read them off and I'm going to let you guys kind of pick how you want to, you know, how you guys want to answer it, or if you want to pick out a specific question.
You've done so good with 30 seconds.
Yeah. A lot of questions people want to know about you guys. So question from Flamore is, how do you maintain your success over the long term? Question from Rich Haviland, how do you stay motivated in the hot summer days?
Kathy's answer like don't.
What keeps you motivated when it feels like business gets tough? And what is the most rewarding part of your job besides getting paid? And then what helped you get through some of your most difficult times in real estate? From Mr. Ricardo Belgrave. And then Stephanie asked, have you had your wow, I made it moment? If so, what was that original milestone? So
There you go.
So how do you stay motivated in the summer months? So everyone used to laugh at me in the office. I used to take off the entire month of August. And I've pretty much carried that practice my entire career. And, you know, whether it's a month, whether it's 2 weeks, whatever it is, take the time to shut off your phone or have a backup and enjoy your family and be present with them, because this business will very easily distract you from your family, and you need to take that time off. So if summer is your time to enjoy, then don't feel guilty about taking it off, but at the same time, have a plan to come back strong once you're off, once you're back on your feet. So that's my 2 cents. Take the time you need for your family and your friends. Because this business will burn you out.
Do something for yourself every day. Doesn't matter what it is, walk on the beach, see a movie, phone a friend, take a nap, whatever it is. Because this business can drain you. And when you do something that you want to do and that you do just for you, it's great for the soul. And it'll help you carry through on the bad days. And the summer months, we all laugh, I'm tan, I admit it. I changed my routine. If I'm on the beach, I'm taking a walk on the beach, I'm talking to somebody. Back in the day, you'd see somebody sitting on the beach reading Real Estate Monthly. Well, I have no problem going up and asking them, can I help you? You know what I mean? So I work more early morning, I'm out on the kayak, I've got business cards, I've talked to people. And then, winter time comes, I change it around a little bit different. And that's, how I do business 12 months out of the year. And I do work, they all tease me.
From a kayak.
Working from the kayak.
Yeah,
Take the call.
I think to add to that is just, Dan talked about that earlier as well, is create a schedule or events, vacations around your business, not the other way around. So have a personal life, if you like walking on, like whatever it is that you like doing, do that. Make it's a mental, emotional thing. So be happy, if it's going to church, if it's working out, whatever it is, do that first, then business. Because then you're going to be able to, have longevity. I'm learning that now later on, because
Right.
always, hustling and chasing, and then you're thinking that, what am I chasing? I'm not chasing happiness, because that's not making. I mean, the money's great, and this is that I create, but just the little things that matter to me most that I put first, and then work on that. And what do I do it? Because I like adding value to people. At first, it was always I want to help a first-time buyer, and somebody's always in need of real estate, or in need to big on investing as well. So how do you come up with the money, or how do you whatever it is, it's just adding value to people that don't know how to do it. I mean, I was taught. I had a great friend, mentor right there, Sean O'Brien, that he brought me in and said, let's do this together. And that to me is reciprocated, because
I like a lot of these questions. For me, because it wasn't answered, I was going to try to answer the questions that were answered. The wow moment, I think, was somewhere on here.
Yeah.
All right, yeah. For me, right, like it happened this last year. To be honest, I feel like I'm like the rookie on this, I don't know.
Sure.
I am like super rookie. There was a really cool moment. I think it was in May when we checked the broker metrics, and I was ranked 27th for Atlantic County. And for me, that was I finally made it moment, right? Like I had spent my early career looking at the Hatters, looking at the Dan Rallos, looking at the Cathys, looking at the list goes on of those agents that were just God. They were Titans. They were somewhere so far away from wherever I could ever be. And then I saw this piece of paper that said I was right in there with them. And it was this really weird moment for me because I felt like I didn't belong, like the big bird at the boardroom, you know what I mean? Like that's how I felt, you know what I mean? Like I didn't belong there. And every year, part of the goal is to pick a nemesis, and last year was Hatter actually. The person I want to beat. I want to be better than him on the broker metrics list. So my goal never is a number of transactions, it's never an amount of income. It's my relationship to the market around me, meaning that I want to be higher the next year on that.
And you're.
Oh, yeah. And
You'll get there very quickly.
okay, the
And I
most,
wanted
the most difficult days in real estate, there's gonna be a lot of days that suck. And for me, it's that what we do here is a standard, it's not a job, you don't get to clock in. Like Kathy says, it's a 24-hour business, like I operate a business that serves concierge services to my clients 24 hours a day. So it's not a matter of, do I feel like doing real estate today? It's this is how I live my life. I wake up at 6 a.m., I go to the gym, I have the same breakfast, and I go. And it's not negotiable. If it's a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday, Friday, doesn't matter. So make this life a standard practice, not a I feel like.
Excellent.
It also makes it easier too when you develop that habit.
And when you're making money, this thing's way easier. I promise you. You know what I mean? Like when you're really making it, you know what I mean? And you're not going months without a transaction closing, it gets real easy to be motivated when you see the progress happening.
Yeah.
But it's so front loaded that you're gonna begin getting paid on your work from 5 years ago.
But if you do it right, you'll still be getting it 10 and
Correct.
15 years.
Work smart, not hard.
Yeah. If you guys enjoyed this panel, we are running up on time, so out of respect for everybody, we have answered the questions that are on here. If you guys do have any more questions, and this is something you want to see in the future, let Christine know. We'll get as many of these panelists back as we can to answer any more follow-up questions you have. But just let Christine know what you thought. If you have further questions, we can set something up in the future, but give a round of applause for you guys.